have your attention, please? If you haven't done so at this time, please silence all cell phones and pagers, and please sign in. Thank you.
Good morning. This meeting of the Louisiana Tax Commission is hereby called to order. This meeting is being held at the offices of the Louisiana Tax Commission at 1051 North 3rd Street, Suite 225, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The date is Thursday, October 22nd, 2020, and the time is 10:01 a.m. Please call the roll.
Chairman Shahardy?
Here.
Commissioner Wagasbat?
Here.
Commissioner Jeffers?
Here.
Commissioner Vercher?
Here.
Commissioner Wood?
Here.
5 present and a quorum.
Thank you. There being no old business to take up at this time, we will move into the appeal portion of our docket. I'm first going to ask everyone who is here this morning who plans on testifying at the microphone to please stand up at your desk to be sworn in as a witness.
You stand and raise your right hand. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. It is the Tax Commission's policy to accept all documents into the record that were timely pre-filed in accordance with the Commission's rules and regulations. This will be done at the conclusion of all hearings on today's docket. Accordingly, there is no need to formally offer or introduce the exhibits into the record during your appeal hearing. However, if you intend to object to the submission of any of the opposing parties' exhibits, you must notify the Commission at the start of your appeal hearing. As a reminder, this is an administrative hearing, and as such, the rules of evidence are relaxed. The Commission is inclined to review and consider all evidence submitted and to accept such evidence into the record. All right, the first matter on our docket that we will take up this morning is the appeal of Community Care Properties LLC versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22176-017. All right, I'm going to ask you to state your name for the record, just so we have it. Please remember, with the face covering, it sometimes tends to muffle your voice, so try to talk a little bit louder than you normally do, and try to talk as close to the microphone as you can, so those of us who are hard of hearing can hear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. That's
My name
great.
is Paul Cavanaugh. I'm the owner of Community Care Properties, which owns the building at 3600 Chestnut Street. I'm actually in agreement with your appraisal of that property at $373,000. So
Okay,
we're okay with that, and we're
that's
done
fine.
with this one.
That's fine, there's no, you need to say no more.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Why don't you go back to your chair?
I have the next one too.
What's that?
Go ahead.
So we're doing F right now, Mr. Chairman? Is that correct?
Pardon me?
Are we doing F?
Yes,
Okay.
F, yes, that's correct.
Okay, I also have E, you mean?
No, we got to take them one at a time.
Okay.
But if you just mind kind of stepping away,
All
so we can hear. Look, I'm not trying to cut you off,
No, that's
but
all right.
I don't want you to talk yourself out of your position. So, Mr. Wallace, go ahead.
George Wallace with the Louisiana Tax Commission. I appraised the property, had a value of $243,800 for the land and $129,200 for the improvements, with a final value of $373,000. This was based off of the cost approach only. No, I'm sorry, no, I did have an income approach to value as well.
I don't know if that's something else you were saying, or?
No, the cost approach was at $389,000 and the income was at $373,000. And I put the most weight on the income approach at $373,000.
Okay. And you used a 77% depreciation on the building.
Yes, sir.
And the cost approach. Can you just tell us a little bit
Just
about
due
that?
to the age and the outside, the condition looked like it's a pretty well-aged facility.
All right. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. All right, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move in docket number 19-22176017 that we set the 2020 fair market value at the LTC staff appraisal of $243,800 for land, $129,200 for improvements, for a fair market value total of $373,000.
Second.
Commissioner Berger?
Yes.
Commissioner Weatherstack?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. All right, the next item on the agenda we'll take up, the appeal of Community Care Hospital LLC versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22176-016. Mr. Kavanaugh, you're free to go ahead.
Yes. Paul Cavanaugh. I'm the owner of Community Care Hospital that owns the building at 1421 General Taylor Street. I bought this building in about, I believe, 1994, 95 for about $275,000. The issue was the medical service district is a block away, and this is outside of the medical service district. It's a psych hospital. And so I was able to get a conditional use for that. But I provided in the evidence an ordinance. It is extremely restrictive, which limits my ability to sell it. I came back to the commission in 2013, and the commission was in agreement and lowered the valuation. And it stayed that way until pretty much here until they raised it again. I made the same issue with the assessor's office, and they denied it. They have since gone on the next year, 2000, I guess, is this 20 coming up? And they reduced it to $980,000. I submitted that as well. I don't know if it made it into the record.
Well, that's probably, we don't have anyone from the assessor's office here. The assessor's office, I know in Owens Parish is doing an adjustment for 2021 based on the pandemic.
Right.
So that of course will be for 2021. We're only dealing with 2020.
Right.
So that really doesn't enter the picture right now as far as the current value is concerned.
Well, my problem is the ability to sell this thing to another party who could live with those severe restrictions. I believe you do have the ordinance available. And it lists a number of provisos. And so that's why I still have this thing after 26 years. So I'm requesting that lower amount here where the assessor is assessed it at this year.
That the assessor is assessing at what value?
$980,000.
I've got in my computer for 2021, $1,316,200.
Yes, I'm talking, I appealed that at the parish.
Okay, so
Assessor.
the Board of Review made an adjustment.
Yes.
Maybe that hasn't been reflected.
Yeah, and you could, if you can get to their site, I have it right here, I don't know. But it'll show it. If you type in the address of 1421 General Taylor.
Yeah, I have it here. I don't see.
This is what they're.
He may not change the assessment, his original assessment, but I do see where there was a Board of Review adjustment change, but I don't think it's reflected in the values for some reason.
I just got this about a week ago from them, so I don't know how long it takes to get in there.
Well, I think the change was, let's see.
COVID related.
Yeah, I mean, this change is for 2021, isn't it? Is it not?
That's correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really COVID related. It's not,
Well, I'm still going back to the issue of what could I sell it for?
What was the difference between the Board of Review's value reduction this year and their not reducing it last year? Was there any conversation about that?
Yes, I went and appealed it as well at that level and did not get any relief. Explained the same situation. I provided them with the information when I came to the Tax Commission in 2013. I explained the reasoning for the limitation of the provisos that limits the value to a third party.
And so what is it in the provisos that limits the value to a third party? And do we have the entire?
Yes, you have the...
Ordinance, because what I have, pages are cut off at the top and bottom.
No outpatient services. Provide 26 parking spaces. Patients age limited. It's just a list of provisos. It's on this page. Starts with line 23. Do you all have the ordinance?
I mean, it's not unusual that for commercial properties, there are limits on parking spaces or.
Well, this is a limitation on the type of patients that we can have. So it couldn't be used for an acute care hospital. It couldn't be used for long-term. It couldn't be used for certain specific types of psych. It couldn't be used for a nursing home. It's a 5-story building. It has no parking on it. And it's a block out of the medical service district. If the medical service district was a block wider, I wouldn't have all these limitations.
Are you living with those limitations now?
I am. But it's the inability to sell it to a third party who would live with those restrictions.
But you could sell the facility to a third party as long as the use did not change.
Exactly.
Do you have anything you can show us that monetizes that? I mean.
I do not.
I mean, based on what we have, the assessor's office has it valued at $1,605,500, which was upheld by the Board of Review. Our staff appraisal is $1,316,000, so it is a reduction of reduction probably about $290,000.
I'm just thinking of, to meet those conditions of residential fourplex, you would have to tear it down and build a residential fourplex.
Well, we have to have a way of monetizing it, and right now I don't see how we're able to do that. The building is valued at $60 a square foot under our staff appraisal, as opposed to, well, more than that on the assessors. I don't have that calculation.
Another limitation of the building is that, it's 5 stories with a small square footage for each floor. So a regular facility could staff it, if it was on one floor with one RN and the rest staff. But because of my layout, I have to have an RN for each floor. So my costs of staff are much greater than that of a different type facility if it was laid out in one floor in a spoke system. When I took it over, it was empty. It was owned by a company who was operating it outside of the rules, and they came in and closed it down. So I bought it for them with the condition that I would get that conditional use change. And I did, but they very narrowly defined what I could do with it.
Have you had any offers to sell this building? Have you put it on the market? Have you tried?
Over the years, I've been contacted, but when they've seen this, those things have gone away. Folks wanted to do other healthcare type things with it, long-term acute, things of that nature.
And you know for a fact that you could not get the city to get rid of some of these restrictions that affect the value?
Well, I can tell you this. It was very difficult in the 90s putting a psych facility in a residential neighborhood. I had quite a bit of opposition. This is one block off of St. Charles Avenue. There's also a map in there that shows the zoning. In the blue part is the medical service district, which everything is allowed in, and I'm outside of that.
So again, I think the question was asked, maybe I didn't really hear. The board review for 2021, what was their reasoning for the adjustment?
They didn't share that with me. I got an email that showed me that online about a week ago.
So you didn't attend the hearing, or?
I did a telephone, online Zoom meeting with the guy.
Was the
and-
evidence you presented more COVID related, or?
No, I gave him what I gave you about the
Okay.
ordinance, and I explained
I got you.
all the limitations to him.
Has I'm looking at the tax commission rule in 2013, which was, a long time ago.
Right.
And I'm not saying that I remember, I was on the commission, but I'm not gonna tell you that I remember this, but, the value was $1,033,000. Did it remain that value up until 2021? Up until 2020?
It went up a little bit each year, but there was not a significant increase until,
That was the value 2019.
In 2019, it was, okay. And it looks like the land, value went up considerably in 2019.
Well, I can't argue that, because the land is like, if you tore it down, what's the land worth,
Right,
I would-
exactly, that's why I bring that up.
Yeah, I know.
That's $100,000 of the increase alone.
Yeah, I can't really argue the value of the land.
Right, and when you do that, you're getting real close to what the LTC staff appraisal is now in relationship to what the ruling was in 2013.
You mean if you take the building value in 13 and you add the new land value?
Right,
I see.
you're getting close. I'm not saying it's the same, but
Okay.
you are getting close.
This building was built in 1960?
I would.
Have you put a bunch of improvements in it since you bought it?
I sprinkled it.
Sprinkler system?
Yes.
That's it?
It is a valid argument with the, limited use. There's no question about that, but.
And that's why the commission even stated that's why they lowered it back then in 13. But I see what you're saying about taking that value and then adding the current land. I don't know what that number comes to.
Maybe our staff appraisal can kind of shed, I guess my question is an appreciation percentage. If you just use the cost approach.
What was that number, did you?
It's more of a question for our staff.
You're at $1,109,000,
$1,000,000.
and he's at $1,003,000, but you're looking at, some form of appreciation over a 7-year period of time as well. Now, if you and our appraiser can maybe shed some light on that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
George Wallace, Louisiana Tax Commission. I had a land value of $227,900. I did a cost approach at $1,316,000, and that was the only approach I did just due to lack of data. I had no sales, and being that it's owner operated, I had no income history or expenses. So I had a final value of $1,316,000. That would be $1,088,100 for the improvements and $227,900 for the land. To answer your question for the depreciation, it's pretty difficult to come up with a rock solid depreciation. I was at 55%. That could maybe fluctuate a little bit, but it was mainly, just from observed condition and a little, kind of like an age lag.
Would 65% be unreasonable? I mean, it's a 1960s building.
Right, yeah, like I said, I mean, there's probably a little leeway in there if it was 55 to 65% would, to me, be reasonable.
That would bring it closer to your number.
But he's faster with calculators than me. so-
Well, I'd like somebody to check my math, but at 65% depreciation on the improvements, that would lower the total value down to $1,074,320.
Correct.
If I'm using my calculator correctly.
You got it. I had 316, I'll give you $4.
Pardon me?
It's correct.
It is?
Yep.
Who knew? Okay.
That's 30,000 less than what I had mentioned earlier.
Okay, I like that number better.
Okay.
So basically, it puts the improvements of the structure at 846,420,
That's correct. Plus the land,
227,900, which there's an overall increase in that area since 2013.
yeah.
Total needs 74,320. And your testimony would be 65% could be a reasonable depreciation.
I would think so.
It's a 40-plus-year-old building.
10 extra percent on,
I would have thought after 40, 50 years, it's almost, we're at kind of bottomed out, but.
well, I didn't get inside of the building either, but,
Okay.
so,
All right.
Do we have any more questions? Mr. Wagispacker, would you make a motion?
On docket number 19-22176-016, my motion would be to set the land value at $227,900, the improvements at $846,420, for a total valuation of $1,074,320.
Second.
Commissioner Berger?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
And Chairman Shawardy?
Yes. All right. Thank you for coming up.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, the next item on our appeal docket today, the appeal of Joseph Merrill Charitable Foundation versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22171-049.
Good morning. My name is Keely Williams. I'm the representative for the owner. We have a structure in this building where my company master leases the building from the owner, the Merrill Foundation, and then we have a subtenant who is master leasing it from us. So I'm kind of the middle gal. It's a triple net lease, and typically the tax burden, well, per the master lease, is falling on the subtenant. However, I'm here today because my appeal is twofold. I just wanted to go over 329 Barone, talk about it a little bit, and appeal to the board on the valuation. Secondly, we're experiencing a lot of hardship, obviously, due to COVID-19. We're probably going to lose our subtenant, and the subtenant was responsible for challenging this tax roll in 2021. They didn't do that. They didn't file the paperwork. And so my ask would be, whatever valuation we come up with today, can that be applied to the future tax bills and using that same logic? So that would be my ask. And the property in question is in downtown New Orleans. It's It's 329 Barone Street. It's in the downtown development district, so it's kind of this like 4-story real townhouse in the middle of a bunch of skyscrapers. And I think that George Wallace probably took that into consideration when he was doing his appraisal. The other interesting thing about the building is that it's really it's 2 parcels. It's master leased, it's run, it's permitted as one building. So it's a little bit challenging because we really have 2 parcels in question here, and the valuations are like a little bit different. I honestly don't know where the appeal is for the adjoining second half of this parcel. It's 333 Barone, and it should be a part of, somehow in conjunction. I don't know that it ever made it to Louisiana Tax Commission, so I'm here, I guess, just to talk about the one parcel, the half of this building that's the 4-story portion of the property. And I don't know if anyone has any questions at this point regarding some of those complexities.
This building is approximately 9,700 square feet, is that correct?
Yeah, the building with the 2 parcels as a whole is approximately 15,000 square feet. This portion of the building, if we want to look at it that way, is approximately 9,000. The other part's approximately 6,000.
Okay.
And that was reflected in the appraisal.
So this is one building that sits on 2 parcels?
Yes.
Now, we have, the assessor's office valued the property, and the board of review upheld that value for $1,742,300. Our tax commission staff appraisal came in at $1,300,000.
Right.
Are you comfortable with that $1.3 million value?
Definitely not comfortable with it for a variety of reasons.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I'm not comfortable with it, and one of the main hardships that is just specific to this valuation is the increase year over year. I mean, it's more than a 50% increase, and I know that in a lot of municipalities, some of the increases year over year are capped at like 2% in other parts of the country. So it's a pretty significant increase year over year. It's going to result in key management people being terminated, and that's how it trickles down, unfortunately. But more so, I think that the comps, I'm a bit challenged on some of the comps and some of the income approach. This is a triple net lease. I don't see why you couldn't use the $144,000 a year to use that and value this property. Instead, I'm not sure, and maybe George could speak a little bit more to his thoughts, but the income approach, we were comparing it to medical and office. The use of this building is apartments and retail. And so that those rates, I don't know that they're necessarily very comparable. Additionally, downtown New Orleans is this little very specific area. So if you were to put a mile radius around this building, you would get a variety of different commercial properties. And I think maybe in the appraisal that kind of showed up because like one property was near the VA Medical Center, which is like a world-class medical facility, and then another property was like on a Mardi Gras route in the Arts District, which has like the highest real estate in the city. And so I don't know if there was maybe just a lack of data, but it just doesn't seem to really apply to our situation. Coupled with hardship from the COVID and being kind of like the little guy surrounded by skyscrapers, this is uncomfortable.
Question. Your effective income is locked in at $144,000.
It's locked in at $144,000, and then after year 5, which would occur in 2021, there is a CPI multiplier, which is like a data point. But
for 2020?
For 2020, it's locked in at $144,000. It's $12,000 a month. Yeah, and it's a long-term lease too. And then thereafter, this multiplier that gets applied is only like, it's probably like a 2% swing per year. So it could be 2% more or it could be 2% less, and that's a reflection of the market dynamics. And that's how it's written in a lease.
But using that, Mr. Chairman and others, using that income, it gets us pretty close to the,
Because it's the whole building. that 60%.
Well, if I just take your income as is, with no vacancies and adjusted expenses, I come up with about $1,050,000.
But that's for two
On the income
persons.
approach. And we'll hear from our appraiser, he's also used the sales market, and he kind of blended the two.
Yeah.
So,
So the $144,000 is over these two parcels. This building makes up 60% of the building that is being rented for the $144,000.
Exactly.
Is that your testimony?
That's correct, and so approximately 86,000 of it should be attributed to this building.
So you're saying the rent is $144,000 for both buildings?
Yes.
And this building is about 60%?
That's correct. And then to make matters even more complicated, this portion of the building has like an elevator and parking, and the other portion doesn't. So even if you were to value this portion of the building, and then you were to apply that to the other half, it really wouldn't make sense. So I'm a little bit at a loss of what's the next steps and think about it.
so no other income, no parking income, no other, that's it, $144,000.
That's it, triple net.
And then 86,000 for this portion of the building.
That's correct.
No, we have no income statement, no expense statement, we have no exhibits, no anything. If we're gonna say the $144,000 represents rent for the entire building, and this building is approximately 60% of the square footage of both buildings, then the rent attributable to this building would be 60% of 144,000.
That's right.
Which, without any supporting documentation whatsoever, is,
You should have, well, and maybe this is an error on my part, but the master lease was submitted. So it was
You don't
submitted.
have it.
Okay, so it was submitted to City of New Orleans. I would assume that package would have been passed on, but George Walls does mention the 144 in the appraisal. So it's a known number, and it can be provided.
Were you asked for any income or anything like that from Mr. Wallace?
No. Oh, yes, no, he asked, I think he came out, if I recall, I think he came out, took some photos, may or may not have entered the building and said, what's the income information? And I said, here's the master lease and information. I don't remember if I read anything last week.
I have it.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
I mean, I know we heard another property earlier for this Joseph Barrow Foundation. I don't know if it's the same.
If it was on Barone Street,
I don't know. I don't remember that detail. I just remember an appeal.
yeah.
In
They aren't, the onus is really not on them to pay the property taxes, which is why it's on my subtenant, but like I said, with COVID, I don't think that's going to work out, and so I felt I needed to come today.
And explain to me, in what capacity are you here, who today you're representing who?
So I signed the original deal with New York Foundation, who's the owner of the building. I then became a subtenant, and that deal was, it started out as like 10,000 a year, and it ramped up a little bit, and it started to stabilize at around 12, which was all pre-planned. So I'm the subtenant, I was the subtenant, and in this February, it just so happened right before COVID that we had an offer to have another operator below us who was going to take on the burden of the tax and the operations. And so they have lasted about 8 weeks, and they've been closed. So I'm going kind of
So
through.
if they default on their lease, it's gonna revert back to you.
Exactly.
And your original agreement with the owner was similar to this as far as the monetary, or did you increase the rent when you subleased?
We ended up just passing it through. So it was monetarily the same, and we weren't meant to make additional funds off of it, at least for several years, so.
All right, well, let's hear from Mr. Wallace and see what he has to say.
Thank you.
Mr. Malvo, do we have an agent form and all for this property?
I have to double check. I believe so, though.
Mr. Wallace, go ahead.
George Wallace, with the Louisiana Tax Commission. I had a land value of $171,000. I did a sales comparison approach and had a final value of $1,438,000. And I also did an income approach with $1,183,000. And I correlated the two values to $1,300,000, which would be $1,129,000 to the improvements and $171,000 to the land. And just a brief comment on if you're going to consider the $86,000, which would be the 40%, that comes up to $882 a square foot, I think, according to my calculation. And it just it falls outside of the range of the comparable leases in the area, so I felt like the 1850 was supported.
Yeah, I think your income approach is, due to the uniqueness of the income of the property, maybe a better approach versus a blended,
Right, I mean, and,
That would be acceptable.
I mean, when you do a cost of bond and income, you just correlate the very most of the time, so, I mean, I wouldn't be,
You made a statement in your appraisal that you recognized that it was leased for $144,000, so I'm assuming that she gave you good information that it was leased at both were at $144,000.
Right, I have a copy of the lease, and it was $144,000, but it was for the two.
Right. And you went on to say that it didn't reflect true market. So you gave consideration, but you didn't use it.
I considered it, but I didn't use it.
Do you have any more questions? Mr. Weisbach, you have a motion?
Yes, this is on document number 19-22171-049, my motion would be to accept the LTC staff appraisal's income approach to value, setting the land at $171,000, the improvements at $879,000, for a total valuation of $1,183,000.
Second.
Commissioner Archer?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagenspat?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeffers? And Chairman Shahardy?
Hold on, I have a correction, I'm sorry.
Withdraw your motion?
Withdraw my motion. My motion would be to use the income approach, setting the land value at $171,000, the improvements at $1,012,000, for a total of $1,183,000.
Second.
Commissioner Archer?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagenspat?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeffers? And Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. All right. So, thank you for coming.
Oh, of course, and in terms of what I appealed earlier, in terms of using this assessment and this change for the second half of the building and also for 2021, is this the proper venue to, make any action towards that, or is it something that needs to be considered at the Orleans level?
Well, what we did today is for 2020.
Okay.
2021, you say you had it?
And it's only for this particular assessment number.
this assessment and the neighboring, the second half of the property.
This is for 329 Barone Street, the 9,744 square foot improvements.
And it's under assessment number 104, 102, 207, so there's a separate assessment. For the other parcel, needs to be handled separately.
All right. And is there a way to, if it's closed for some reason, or is there a way to open it up so that I could challenge it at the state level?
Did you appeal your 2021 valuation?
I haven't, because the onus was on my operator.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Need to use the microphone. This is only for assessment number 104, 102, 207. That's what this appeal was.
Correct. And I guess I'm more asking, because I don't know, since my operator didn't file paperwork to appeal the 2021, and because the assessment is now lower and 2021 is kind of based on 2020, I mean, I think that we're going to see our increased tax bill in 2021. So I'm wondering, what's the course of action for me to kind of challenge?
You'd have to go talk to the assessor's office about 2021.
All right, and then if there is a challenge, it will be brought to.
If there is a challenge, it will be brought back to us. That's correct.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I believe that, is that everyone who is here this morning? There's no other property owner or taxpayer present? No. No, okay. All right, well, let's go back to the top of the docket. We'll consider the appeal of Arlene Bates versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-269. Just give us one moment. All right, Ms. Matthew, why don't you go ahead. Note no one here on behalf of the assessor's office, no one here on behalf of the taxpayer. So, Mr. Matthew, go ahead.
Thank you, Patrick Matthew, Tax Commission Appraiser. I'm here today on behalf of Mr. Paul Bennett in this case. He did an appraisal of 819 North Solomon Street. His appraisal used the market approach and arrived at a value of $366,000 with a land value of $42,600 and an improvement value of $323,400.
Do you have any questions? Do we have a motion? Mr. Jefferson, go ahead.
Chairman, I move on docket number 19-22172-269. That the 2020 fair market value be set at the LTC staff appraisal, land at $42,600, improvements $322,400, for a total fair market value of $366,000.
Second.
Commissioner Berger?
Yes.
Commissioner Wexler?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shavardi?
Yes. Next on the docket, the appeal of Firemen's Charitable and Benevolent Association versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-279. All right, no one here on behalf of the assessor's office or the property owner, so Mr. Matthew, go ahead and tell us about the appraisal.
Okay, Patrick Matthew, Louisiana Tax Commission Appraiser. I did an appraisal of 5200 Canal Boulevard, which is known as Greenwood Funeral Home. I researched and tried to find sales of funeral homes were not available. Neither was any rental comparables or actual rental information. I did a cost approach on the property. That cost approach just on the improvements only was $1,142,100. I'll note that the property is assessed under two assessment numbers, land separate from the improvements. For the sake of this appeal, only the assessment number that contained the improvements was noted, so no land valuation was done.
Okay. I believe the assessor's office said they were in agreement with the board of review. Ms. Mallow, am I correct on that? I believe that's correct.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. And so your appraisal came out higher than the board of review, yes, okay. Well,
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion.
yeah, please do.
I would move on docket 19-22172-279 that we affirm the parish board of review value, set the improvements at $800,300 for a total value of $800,300.
Second.
Commissioner Archer?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shawardy?
Yes. Okay, give us one moment. All right, next is the appeal of Carriage Services of Louisiana Incorporated versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-280. Mr. Matthew? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. This is an appraisal of this property, which is at 3827 Canal Street. This is another funeral home and a Shane Funeral Home. The land was not disputed and was that value of $1,199,900 was carried through. A cost approach was done as well, which showed an improvement value of $2,644,800. The total value arrived at was $3,644,700. Once again, with the land value of $1,199,900, improvement value of $2,444,800.
All right, do we have any questions? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move on docket 19-22172-280 that we accept the LTC staff appraisal, set the 2020 value at land $1,199,900, improvement value $2,444,800, for a total fair market value of $3,644,700.
Second.
Commissioner Archer?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shawardy?
Yes. All right, I believe that clears our docket for this morning, am I correct?
That is correct.
All right. Tax Commission hereby accepts all pre-filed documents and oral testimony into the record as Taxpayer Exhibit 1 in Globo, Assessor Exhibit 1 in Globo, and Louisiana Tax Commission Staff Appraiser Exhibit 1 in Globo, for each appeal hearing conducted today respectfully. There being no other matters to come before the commission at this time, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Archer?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
And Chairman Shawardy?
Yes.